without violating anybody's confidence or anything, I'm not asking you to do that, but is there any story or case where you can just give an example of that?
To answer your first question, yes, I can do that all through the feet. I also work on the face. Like I mentioned, there's signals on the face and the back. And so I also do a treatment that is called face zoning, and I also do a treatment that's called back zoning. And when I'm working with my clients, we usually create a program and decide whatever is coming up, that maybe the next session will be a back zone to deal more with the emotional, or maybe the next session will be a face zone to deal more with the mental. But I can access that and get a good idea of exactly what's going on all through the feet. And generally, I'm glad you actually asked me about, if there's a story that I can share, because I have a really good friend and I know that she would not mind at all if I shared with her. When I was first getting into foot zoning, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago, I had just graduated and had probably been working for about a year. However, I was not I didn't talk about it much because I didn't learn this to do it professionally. I learned this to help my family. And so I worked on my daughter and I worked on myself and my husband, but I didn't talk about it much. And so my husband was actually my big advocate. He would always talk, and then I'd get frustrated because I was almost embarrassed, I think, that I did what I did because it was so different. Even though I knew it worked, there was still a part of me that was kind of nervous about it. And so anyway, I had a friend that was really struggling with her colon. She was having digestive issues, and the other thing that I knew that she was having a lot of infertility issues. Her and her husband had been trying for years and years to get pregnant, and she could get pregnant. She just couldn't stay pregnant. She would have many miscarriages. And so my heart went out to her, and I wanted really badly to help try and fix the infertility issue. But she was a little leery because, foot zoning, what is that? And was, this was new and was a little uncomfortable for her. And so she thought, well, if you can help me with my colon and that works, then maybe we'll try this infertility issue. And so anyway, she came in for her first session with me, and immediately she went home and called me that night and told me that, she had felt, hadn't felt that good in months. And so she said, I'm a believer. I'm willing to try whatever you want to work on the infertility. And so at this time, she had probably had 7 or 8 miscarriages. And so there was not just physical issues, but there was also major emotional issues because of the amount of miscarriages that she had gone through. And so we I just started and worked on her feet and realized that her body, because of the food that she had been eating, had caused some issues with her uterus, and she wasn't able to hold when she would get pregnant, the egg couldn't implant. And so, we worked on that and cleared out her uterus and got everything balanced to where she could, that she could actually get pregnant and hold the pregnancy. And so I'd been working with her for maybe 3 months or so, and she got pregnant and held the pregnancy longer than she'd ever had. And she did have another miscarriage, but she came back to me and said, this is the longest I've ever been pregnant, and I want to keep going because I want to try again. And so what came next and was the hardest part was dealing with the emotions. And that took several more months. And we alternated back and forth on working on her feet as well as working on her back. And basically got rid of a lot of the emotional trauma that coincided with the fact that she had had so many miscarriages. So once we got through that, she got pregnant again and was, several months along. And I got a call about midnight one night from her, panicked. And she said, Aleesha, I'm pretty sure I'm having a miscarriage. What do I do? And so, of course, I ran over to her house and I worked on her feet and I'd given her some herbs. And basically I looked at her and her name was Harmony. And I said, Harmony, your baby is just fine. Everything is just fine. You have to believe that your body can have this baby. And so we had to work through a mental block because this pattern had happened so many times that she just didn't believe it anymore. She did not believe that her body, could go through the process of creating this baby. And anyway, and so she did a lot of crying and she worked through it and her baby is just fine. And she had her first baby and now I think her baby's almost 5 and she's actually pregnant currently with her 3rd child.
Did she name the child Aleesha?
No, no, but I will tell you this because it was such a life-changing experience for her. You know, she had to change her diet. She dealt with a lot of varied emotions. Mentally, she made a lot of changes, how she believed about herself and how, her outlook on life. And so she actually went back through and became one of my students. And I taught her the foot zoning program because it was such a life-changing thing for her. So she actually is now a certified foot zonologist as well down where she lives. So
wow, that is a miracle story. That's a powerful story, and I went into this conversation with you, Aleesha. By the way, you are hearing Chris Story talk to Aleesha Franlin for Get Me Not Alternative Healing. And Aleesha, I went into this conversation already a believer because I know somebody and happen to live with somebody who is seeing you. And I'm here to tell you that there is a lot packed into the story you just told. And there's more than you and I can, as the children say, unpack here and now. But I want you to keep coming back and keep coming back to the program and enlightening us and bringing us into the light and helping us understand this. And I'll tell you this too, is that I think pretty soon you're going to have to change your name from alternative to, Forget Me Not Mainstream Healing, because I know what you're talking about is real. It works, and I think you have to almost maybe know somebody or go through it yourself to understand it. Can you just help me understand? Because I'm familiar with a little bit with reflexology, but I'm not familiar with what it is you do with foot zoning. Is it anything like acupuncture? Are there needles involved or no?
no, there's no needles or any type of tool that I use other than my hands. I use my knuckles, and actually, if you look at my hands, I have small calluses on the top of my index finger because that's what I use when I'm working on the feet. And everything's done by touch, even though it doesn't have to be done that way. Everything is done by touch, and so it's kind of a combination of. Some people tell me it feels a little bit like a foot massage. However, there are places on the feet that will feel tender if there is a problem there. Say somebody's got that just caught a cold. If they come in, there will be several areas where it is a little bit tender when I'm working on their feet because there's inflammation in the body due to the fact that they have this virus. But it's a light treatment. It's not hard at all. It's not. In my opinion, it does not hurt. However, my husband and my father tend to disagree. They think that it's very painful. But in general, I feel like, most people come in and they're kind of surprised. They say, oh, you work a lot lighter than I would have anticipated. So it's not a hard treatment at all. It feels, in my opinion, it feels great. A lot of people think it's similar to like a foot massage. And I do have a lot of clients that are concerned because they're ticklish. And I will also tell you that even if you're ticklish, it's great. It doesn't bother you. I even work on little children, and they will sit there and have no issue at all. In fact, they enjoy it. They come back, take their socks right off, and put their foot right in my lap. So,
What, just quickly wrapping up here, what did your family think? You talked about growing up in Utah on a ranch. What do most of your family? You said you worked on your father, so that's great. That's a show of acceptance of what you do. But in general, what does your family think?
When I first started this, when I came and told my parents that I was going to go to school for this, they thought, okay, like what in the world is that? But good for you, I guess, for, wanting to learn something new. I mean, it was just, whatever. I mean, they didn't really know what it was, but they thought, good for you, like, go for it. And then once I got into it and started utilizing it, my parents became believers really fast because my father had a lot of allergies. External, like if he went outside, environmental, he's very highly allergic to smoke. So if there was a fire with even a 20-mile radius of their house, if he went outside, he would get really sick. And so there were all of these things, and I thought, hey, well, why don't you let me practice on you? Because as I'm learning, this can benefit you as well. And anyway, and so they started to see the results right away, and so they became believers really quickly. My siblings, not so much. My siblings, in fact, some of them probably still think I'm kind of crazy. However, it's gotten to the point where they will call me now if there's a problem or something's going on that they just don't know how to fix with their health or their children. They call me and ask, well, what would you do for this? Or can you help me with this? Or I'm sick and what should I take for this? So I think they are gradually becoming believers as well.
You and I were walking outside one day, and you pointed down to the ground, nondescript, what I would have called weeds in need of weed whacking. You pointed out a half a dozen different things right here in our own backyard of Alaska as to their medicinal properties, and I was really impressed. And I'm really looking forward to this ongoing conversation and enlightening us on this alternative and this very natural and super effective way of caring for our bodies, which are a miracle in and of themselves. Aleesha Franlin, the company is Forget Me Not Alternative Healing. Aleesha, where can we find you online?
So my website is www.forgetmenot.healing.com. And I also have a Facebook page if you just go onto Facebook and look up Forget Me Not Alternative Healing.
All right. Thank you, Aleesha, so very much. We look forward to talking to you again. Stay healthy.
Yes, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it.